All right. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to episode 4. Time
Yes.
is a flying by. I cannot believe we've been doing this for a month.
Yeah.
It's really wild in my mind. It is mid-October, right? A little early, but kind of in that mid of October.
Mm-hmm.
We are kind of
Matching.
matching in the pink here.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
The shirt I'm wearing today, for everyone who is listening, is I forget where I get this. H&M? I don't know. I don't spend a lot of money on clothes. Not because I don't really want to, but just, but it's a corduroy, oversized, pink, long sleeve shirt. And it's actually a woman's shirt. But I love this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you have mixed feelings about this shirt.
I picked it out. Do you not recall?
I don't recall.
We were in the store and I handed it to you to try on. You're like, "Isn't it a woman's shirt?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is, but I like it."
Okay.
I really like the wide pockets.
Yeah, they're obnoxious. I love them. You could fit a puppy, a small kitten, a small puppy.
That's
in
true.
Here, a guinea pig.
One of each.
All animals in my shirt. Well, on today's episode, we will be going over again and being vulnerable. The many ways that
In all the ways.
yes, in many ways that can show up. We'll be focused a little more in the pleasure world, but not exclusively there. And we'll also be sharing a little bit about Halloween, because Halloween's coming up.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited about, being in a new place and Halloween. And Jay and Lee will share a little bit about the is it the full moon or the new moon?
So the full moon.
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Halloween, full moon. It's not that it's on Halloween, but
Yeah.
I feel like the full moon closest to Halloween is the Halloween full moon.
Right.
So, yeah, sit back, relax, or do work, or drive your car, or work out, or whatever you do when you
Whatever
listen to
you
us.
do.
Whatever
when
you
listen
like to
to us.
do. We like it. You love it. We love it. And we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. How are you today? How is life going for you?
Hey.
Feel a little rushing. I feel like we
Yeah.
switched. Usually I'm the one rushing to get here, and you're more cool, calm, collected. I feel like we've switched a little bit. How are you doing?
Yeah, I think I've definitely been challenged to up my game in the time management arena. And no dilly-dallying, no
Yeah. Get it done.
wasted time. So that's good, but
Yeah.
also lots of deep breaths to get
Mhm.
myself to participate.
Yes. How has your week been? Has that been your how's the
So
week?
are we talking glue?
We're talking glue, baby.
All right.
Give me the glue.
So my glue this week is the fact that my body told me to take to the bed, and I just did it, and I canceled everything that was supposed to happen that day, and I didn't feel any kind of way about it. And I feel like most of the time I feel a lot about it, and I've just been working so hard to like allow myself to give myself what I need and listen to my body, and like I let myself be in the bed for a whole day, and I wasn't feeling well, and we just kind of like operated like a well-oiled machine. You stepped in, and
Yeah.
I just canceled everything I needed to cancel, and I just rested, and I caught up on The Good Witch, which is leaving Netflix, which it just happened to be the same week that it's leaving Netflix. I got
I think it's gone already.
I got to do some binging one last time. Yeah, because exactly, it was only for September.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just has been a lot, and I am feeling better because I just surrendered when my body was like, hey, you're going to stay in bed today. So that's my glue, on top of the fact that last fall you started making soup. He got inspired by like Alfie Cooks. Is that
Alfie
his
Cooks
name?
on Instagram. I
And-
cannot do any accent, but I always try. He's like, it's soup season.
and
And I'm like, yeah, it is.
So I fell in love with Aiden all over again last fall because he made the best soup. It was like carrot curry or something,
Yeah, it was
right?
it was so technically it's not a curry, but I mean, I think that,
It
you
had
know,
a curry flair to it.
yeah, but
A
it was
spice
like it was like
curry family.
a fusion.
A
It was like
fusion.
an English fusion with some curry powder.
It was
in it.
delicious.
I would call it more of a carrot squash soup.
And so last night, Aiden made butternut squash
Right.
soup. I liked it more than he did, but I'm also a huge squash fan.
It was very
so
butternutty.
it was so good.
It was good. Don't get me wrong, but I just wish that there was something like it just felt like I was eating a butternut squash, which is fine, but I guess I was expecting a little more flavor. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. But that's part of my glue. I'm all about Aiden cooking,
Soups.
period. But soups is like,
I'm
seems
not
to
a very
be his
good
wheelhouse.
cook, though, but soup is
like specifically pureed soups.
because that's my favorite kind of soup.
Mm-hmm.
Just like mush, but it has to be a little
Flavored
liquidy,
mush.
flavored, liquidy,
Rich,
mush.
toasty bread.
Yes, exactly.
We always eat way too much bread on soup night.
We ate almost a whole loaf. There was 2 pieces left, and I told Jaylee, I'm like, you know we're about to eat this whole loaf, and she's like, oh no, there's a piece over there. I'm like, no, there's no piece anywhere except for right here.
We get very excited to purchase
I like
nice bread.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen that often. So
yeah, I mean it wasn't
we
even
go
that
in.
nice. It was like the take and bake, but we'll
Right.
take it.
Well,
I will take it.
It was a nice high quality take and bake.
Yeah, it was yummy. It was yummy. I'm happy that you took the time. I feel like I have learned how to just go with the flow. And honestly, with Andler being in school, I feel like I'm a lot easier to be like, all right, I'll take him because I don't see him all day and I
Yeah.
don't see him in the morning. So it feels easier to help you when he's in school than when he's not.
Oh yeah. Then it's
Because
just
when he's
like,
not, he's disrupting my
it's a lot.
day
It's a lot.
multiple times a day.
Mhm.
So
Mm-hmm.
my, this week for me felt like, so my mom came, she left, right? My mom and stepdad came, they both left. We had a great time, and my whole schedule was off. My sleeping time was off. My eating schedule was off. My workout schedule, everything. I'm very routine in what I like to do.
Right.
And I have been questioning that routine all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life, I'm always like, maybe I should try that. Maybe I should try this. I come up with these big, elaborate plans to do something different. But I always end up in the same routine. And so,
Excuse me.
bless you. So, my glue this last week was really just sticking to my routine, trusting that my routine is what's best for me. Allergy season,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. If you don't, then consider yourself lucky.
Very lucky.
So just keeping in my routine. Like even yesterday, I didn't do my routine, but I still worked out, but not in the morning. And I was just like, I hate this. As tired as I am in the morning, I just need to wake up, right? Like I wasn't drinking enough water, and then the last few days I've been upping my water. I've been feeling so much better. So
H2O.
and we went to
always
bed
the
too
cure.
late on Sunday. And then last night I was like, we are not doing this. We are going to bed on time. I don't care what happens. Turn it off. And I just am really grateful for my routine and trusting that I will not spend another minute trying to create a new routine. Like I know what works. I know that I feel best when I do that routine. And that's it. Like there's always going to be flex days, times where, you'll have to do something different. But if I have a choice, I need to trust myself in the mornings, particularly when I first wake up, to just get up and do my routine because I always feel better. So that's my glow.
I love it. Yeah, and I agree. You're a better human to be around when you do your routine.
Right? I mean, I think most people are. And I drink enough water, especially up here in the mountains. That's for sure.
Yes.
So, of course, we want to thank everyone for listening, for leaving your comments, your emails, your questions. We read them all.
Yes.
And we want to remind you to politely leave a review. We know that, Y'all are supporting us, and we love the support, and we're so grateful for everyone who is back for season 2. We are so grateful for the new people that have come since we've been on Apple Podcasts, so that's really great. Thank
super
you.
fun to see you all on there. We are new on Apple Podcasts, so
New audience.
leaving us a review on there is really
yeah.
going to help
Yes.
push and make us known on Apple Podcasts,
want
and
people
Spotify,
to know
YouTube.
the amount of couples that we meet that don't know we have a podcast, or the amount of couples that we meet that feel like they're like, we know no one else who's trans and cis. It's like, we're building a whole little community here, and we really love what we do, and we love this podcast, and we love making it, and we want to continue doing that. So thank you for your support. And if you want to email us, you can email us any questions or comments or attacks, as my buddy Jeff would say. Questions, comments, attacks. You can email us at gluedtogetherpodcast@gmail.com. And we will be right back.
It's time for our queer money moment.
Ding, ding, ding. I feel like I want an opening bell. This queer money moment is brought to you by BeYourMoneyHero.com. Ready to take control of your finances and become your own money hero? Head over to BeYourMoneyHero.com and start your journey to financial empowerment today.
Today's topic is overcoming trauma. Did you know trauma from past experiences can have a huge impact on how you handle your money? You might avoid the topic because it makes you feel unsafe. You might overspend in order to prove you have the stuff to earn a position in your friend group, or you might not speak up for yourself when it comes to money with your partner. Identifying what your values are and learning more about money basics is a great starting point. Get started today by checking out BeYourMoneyHero.com.
Welcome back. As I mentioned at the top of the show, it is Halloween season.
Woo!
No longer can people say you are not in fall. No longer can they hate on your pumpkin spice latte. No longer is it not okay to have your Halloween decorations out. So it's here. Welcome. We welcome you.
Yes.
It doesn't last long. We are definitely the family that it's like, Halloween's done. The next weekend, we're setting up for Christmas probably, because Christmas is 3 weeks after Thanksgiving. For all those who celebrate Christmas,
3 weeks.
It's almost exactly 3 weeks after Thanksgiving. So just a little heads up there.
Yeah, to pace yourself.
Exactly.
This holiday season.
So I did not let Janie know what my theme was. I told her it was going to be Halloween costumes.
It's all hush hush.
And she didn't like that. But I'm going to make you like it. So we're going to go over, okay, I want you to rate the best and worst Halloween costumes of 2024. I will give you what the best category is and what the worst category is, and then you will rate at least like your top 1 or 2 that you feel like. So it can be the best and worst personally, or it could just be the best and worst, like what you think visually will be a fun, like a good one. Okay, so first we're going to start. So they're also like a little bit scandalous.
Okay.
A little bit
I can be scandalous.
patriotic / election themed, because I feel like that's what it's going to be. I mean, we're talking, what is it? 4 days away from election day on Halloween. So
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, just putting that out there as everyone. Yeah. So first, I kind of have them in categories. So we have like, should you want to start with like what I think the best costumes are going to be, or what I think the worst costumes are going to be?
Okay.
What do you think? What do you want to start with?
I want to start with the worst.
Okay. I kind of thought you would be that. Okay, so first up, and these are no particular order, and there might be some pop culture moments in here because you might not know what the hell I'm talking about. So first, we're going to start with the ray gun breakdancer. Do you know who that is?
No, but I like breakdancing.
I knew you wouldn't know. Okay. So I'm sure a lot of people listening know, but for those who don't, and I'm gonna make you watch this video. Maybe I should have had it prepped, but I'll make you watch it. The ray gun breakdancer is they had breakdancing at the Olympics in Paris this year for the first year.
Oh.
And it was something to be seen. That is the best way to describe it. It was not breakdancing like you think, like any of the cool
Not like
movies.
what Antler does.
Yeah, not like what Antler does. It is not what you see on TV, on TikTok. This was some wild ass breakdancing that literally just looked like you are on the floor flailing. And every time someone got interviewed about it, they were like really confident about their breakdancing skills. So I don't want to sit here and judge because I was not on that stage in front of millions of people. I cannot breakdance. Maybe I could, I don't know, poorly or good. So, okay, well, that's one of them. So maybe that's not going to be your top one since you don't even know who Ray Gun is.
Okay.
Okay, next terrible Halloween costume is going to be Diddy.
Cringe. It's extra cringy because, like,
You know people are going to be Diddy.
it's extra cringy because I really liked him in high school.
Well, everyone did, though.
Yeah, but
Like you liked him too much?
yeah,
Okay, like you would have been a problem.
yeah.
Okay, well. Next, I mean, I don't even want to go into Diddy because it's just so terrible. Like maybe we'll bring it up in a podcast in the future, but I don't know. I can't even. But like that's why it's gonna be one of the worst. Like you're really gonna be Diddy right now. People are gonna do it. Watch. Okay, next is going to be walking around with an ear bandage on. Do you know what that is?
Is that Trump?
Yes, there we go. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Because I did watch
yeah.
I've seen the.
Yeah, so we think that, like, I think that people are going to be, like, very patriotic, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And whether they are Trump in, like, a funny way, in a supportive way, they're definitely going to be rocking that ear bandage. We're going to see a lot of ear bandages.
A lot of bandages, a lot of
Halloween.
orange.
Yeah, particularly depending on where you live. There's going to be a
Mhm.
lot of ear bandages. Okay, next is going to be the Hawk Tua girl. Do you know who that is?
Say that again?
Hawk Tua.
No, I don't.
I love this segment. You have no idea what I'm talking about with any of these things. So Hawk Tua girl is this no-name woman, I should say, who is now known and popular because she like showed up on some random like interview on the street type thing. And they were like asking about like sex or something like that. And her response to one of the questions was like, "Oh, like what's your secret to like good sex or whatever?" And she said, "You know, you just gotta Hawk Tua on that thing." And so she is very like a prominent feature online, particularly on like X, particularly with like the far right. So I think people will be Hawk Tua girl this year. For
Okay.
Sure. And then last, I don't know if you're gonna know this one either. So I love that this is just me telling you all of the things because I'm a little obsessed with the election. I'm a little obsessed with the subcultures that are both on the left and the right. Purely because it amazes me. Like getting people's attention amazes me. Like how it's done. I'm very. It's like a side thing that I find myself gravitated towards. Of like, what this is amazing. How like I don't get it. I don't want to get it, but I'm so intrigued that people actually are listening to particular things. So, last is going to be JD Vance carrying a stained cushion. Do you know what that is? I love how you know none of these things. Do you know Hillbilly Eulogy? Okay. JD Vance, nominee for the Republican vice president, has a part in his book where he talks about people in Appalachian people, where he grew up apparently, which that's a different story, having sex with couches. So I just... Janely's learning all of these things completely out of context. This is great. This is my favorite one. This is my favorite. pop culture. It
You're
wasn't even
enjoying this
supposed to
way
be.
too much.
Way too much. So the next ones I think you'll know.
Okay.
Okay, so
great.
top 5. Chappelle. I always like, is it Chapel Roan? Chappelle Roan?
I always say Chappelle, but I don't know.
But then I always say chapel.
Yeah.
Like a church.
Mm.
All right, I'm going to go with it. Chapel Roan. Okay, no response.
Yeah, I know.
I know, but
Yeah.
these are the better Halloween costumes in my mind, right? So this
Right.
is in the best category.
Right.
And these are also like most popular is what the other thought. Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm. I've
Right,
already
or like-
seen.
Oh yeah.
They have like baby Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Like a section in Target. Because
Yeah.
I had to go get toothpaste this morning. So
Yep. So Beetlejuice.
like, but babies, like little
Yeah.
stuffies that are like
Creepy.
baby Beetlejuices.
Yeah, it sounds creepy.
Yeah.
I like this one. Anxiety from Inside Out, too.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that a good one?
I love that one.
I thought that was such a good one.
I love Inside Out too.
A coconut tree. That's good, right?
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I'm talking about? She doesn't know. You don't. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's ringing a bell. I don't know which bell, but it's ringing a bell.
Kamala Harris is saying,
Oh.
she tells a story of her grandma or
Yes.
her,
Mm-hmm.
what, do you fall from a coconut tree?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that's why it rings a bell.
Okay, so a coconut tree. I just love how without context you had a response, but you didn't know why.
Yeah, because I knew I had heard it. Like something about a coconut
It
tree.
was relevant, but you were
Yeah.
unsure why.
Yeah.
Simone Biles.
Yes, I love her.
Yeah, because she rocked it. I think that's good. And we watched her documentary on
Yeah.
Netflix. If you haven't, you
Yeah.
should definitely go see it.
And I read her astrology chart, so that was fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So those are the top 5. I'm also throwing one in because I thought of it like last minute. But also I think what might be really popular is a childless cat lady.
Yeah. Yes. And I would rock that
That's
one.
what I was
I
thinking
would
that you.
rock that.
I know, but you're not childless, so.
I know, but
You could write childless cat lady and just cross out childless. You know what I mean? Because like you were a childless cat lady and now you have a child.
True.
Right? So
Yeah.
okay, so for time and segment time's sake, what are you picking? What is the worst? Diddy, ear bandage.
So the worst is Diddy. I can't.
Okay.
I just can't even.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think most people will agree with you there,
I can't
but
even.
it's gonna happen. What about the best?
So the best is definitely childless cat lady.
Childless. Oh yeah, I threw that one in there. You like that one?
Of course.
You think that's gonna be the best? Like, yeah,
I think it's going to be popular.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think I could see all of those. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
in different.
What one would you
arenas.
be? Is that what you would be if you had to pick one of these?
I would be that one. I definitely would have fun being Chappelle Roan as
Chappelle-
well because I
Chappelle.
really love her like whole aesthetic.
Yeah,
So it would be
Okay.
fun to like kind of dress up like that.
Right.
You know.
yeah, she's fun.
Mm-hmm. And then what were the others?
Well, that's it. You're
I
only
wouldn't be a
supposed to pick
coconut
one.
tree. I
N-
can't
well,
imagine that.
You know, so I would be the coconut tree just because it's funny. Because I
Okay.
could walk around like a coconut tree, like I could picture how it would look. Just
So-
because it's funny and ironic, and people would get it without having to say anything. So
And because you could pull it off, like you could make the costume. Like
Yeah,
Aiden's pretty good
exactly.
at making costumes. So
well, and most people I think could make this costume. So it doesn't have to be perfect. That's
Mhm.
maybe the other thing. So, all right, well, let us know. What would you be? What costume are you out of all of these? If you've got other worst ones or best ones, let us know too. You can email us. You could drop us a comment. You could check us out on TikTok, Instagram, all the things. And now we're going to get into our astrology forecast.
So the astrology forecast for the next week is we have the planet Mercury. We all know Mercury, the planet of communication, going into the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio is a real intense, raw sign / energy, right? And so communications are going to ramp up to a place of no filter, 100% truth, not leaving out any details, seeking out details, right? being very detective-like and uncovering what's been hiding under the rock for the last however long, right? So Scorpio is ruled by both Mars and Pluto. Both of these planets, very intense. Now, we have the full moon also coming up this week on October 17th, and the full moon will be in Aries, which is also ruled by Mars.
But it's the opposite of Scorpio.
It's not the opposite.
Damn it. I'm trying to learn so hard.
So Aries is 100% ruled by Mars, and Scorpio is co-ruled by Mars. So they both have Mars in common. What does that mean? They both have intensity in common. So I'm saying it's an intense week with a lot of energy, a lot of rawness, a lot of bluntness, a lot of truth telling, a lot of big feelings, a lot of big emotions, right? So Mars represents our primal energy, right? Like what you feel at the end of the day when you're exhausted and you have no tolerance for sugarcoating anything, right? So this next week is full of all of that. And so how we can navigate it is just being mindful that if we're feeling that way, maybe closing the door and locking it and not talking to anybody, right? So just trying to protect yourself and your relationships by knowing that Mars and Pluto, the planets involved in this week's astrology, are no nonsense and not to be fucked with.
Okay. Lock your doors, put a sign up, it says Scorpio season. Leave me alone.
So the Scorpio season,
but it's not just Scorpio season, it's because it's mixed with the full moon, which is Aries, you said.
Right, exactly. So before a season actually starts, a couple of planets will go into that sign to give us a preview of that energy. And that's what Mercury and Venus are doing right now. So yeah, just be aware. It's a great time to sniff out a secret or a detail that is needing to be found out.
Okay.
But just be aware. Just be on your toes, people.
Okay. Before election season, I don't know how I feel about that.
No, literally. So Scorpio season ends and the election happens. So it is, wow. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Sounds intense.
Lock your doors. A lot to be aware of. Just take your space, go in a closet if need be. And just, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
I like that advice. Good advice, babe. Good advice.
And I will be using it.
The door's locked. I'll be like, oh, I get it. Scorpio season.
Right.
I feel you. All right. Awesome. Well, we will be right back after the break. Are you looking for a natural way to feel balanced and relaxed in your everyday life? Ziggy's Naturals offers high-quality CBD products designed to support your wellness journey, whether you're looking for relief from stress, recovery from soreness, or simply better sleep. CBD has a lot to offer. CBD is known for helping reduce anxiety, easing discomfort, and promoting a sense of calm without the high. But don't fuck with the Delta 8 if you don't want that, right?
Yeah.
Delta 8 and Delta 9. We're just talking CBD here because Ziggy's Naturals does a lot of just CBD.
The Delta 8 gummy, I cut into 8 pieces.
I eat half at a time. It's great. With Ziggy's Naturals being an LGBTQ-owned business, you know you're supporting a company that cares about you and your community. So why wait? Go to ziggysnaturals.com and use the code GLUED at checkout for 15% off your order. Feel better naturally with Ziggy's Naturals. Welcome back, everybody. We are into the vulnerability part of our podcast, which I think most of our podcasts are very vulnerable, but I mean...
Yeah, it's very on brand, but we are diving into a different sphere that we haven't talked about.
Yes.
As well as going deeper into a part that we have talked about.
I love it. So we are going to talk about today vulnerability in sharing and listening when it comes to pleasure, sex, and life as a couple. So today we're gonna start first with vulnerable sharing. So when we think of vulnerable sharing, We think of those moments when you want to share something with your partner, but you are maybe embarrassed or you're scared or you're judging yourself for wanting that thing or even for asking it. Maybe we have some internalized things going on there. So, Jane, when you think of vulnerable sharing, what pops into your head? What do you think about?
I think about sex and money and how when those topics come up, there's like this automatic vulnerability. I know for me as a woman, we are taught to not share what we need sexually or even money wise, right? So those two topics, like for women, like we're taught to like become small, we're taught to be submissive and to just take what we can get instead of like actually asking for what we want or how much money we want. Maybe we want a
Yeah.
raise or,
Yeah.
and so those are the two topics that I think naturally feel like a growth opportunity for me in my vulnerable sharing.
I think that sex and money is also vulnerable for men, to be honest. I think that they are for both. They're something that's hard because I think it's like if women aren't supposed to ask for what they want, men are supposed to take what they want.
Right.
And if women are like when it comes to sex and money, right? Because if it's money, then it's like, well, I'm just gonna work hard, and I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna go get it, right? Again, sex or money, right? So,
Yeah.
so I think that being able to break past those stereotypes for most people, right? Whether you ascribe to masculine or feminine, we're all brought up. At least everyone, now probably listening, we've all been brought up under that stereotype, have been taught that, whether consciously, subconsciously. I mean, even parents, even us, like we're trying really hard to not repeat those things, but I'm sure that Antler will still be like, my dad taught me that football was masculine. You know what I mean? And it's just like there's going to be things that we are trying not to do, but because we're still breaking it down ourselves, we will probably perpetuate. Hopefully, like if our parents were at, if our grandparents were at 100% and our parents were at 80%, maybe we'll be at 60% or 50%, and then maybe Antler will be at 40. Like, right? Like that's the goal, is to be a little better each time with knowing that we won't ever be perfect. So I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah. So, we were out shopping while your mom was here recently, and I just became I was in a noticeable mood shift, and Aiden is very tapped into my moods, and he always knows when my mood shifts, and this is good and bad sometimes.
You're also just some people have a hard time hiding how they're feeling.
Right.
And you're one of those people.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'll take some credit, but also I think that most people around you know how you're feeling because you kind of wear it on your sleeve, so to speak.
Right. But I see you as extra tapped in.
Right.
So he just noticed that my mood shifted, and I don't like talking about money, and when I get triggered with money, it just feels uncomfortable. Like I was saying, it's something I'm working on. And so for me, to that day have like named to you, like, I think I'm really just like struggling with some of the changes and new practices that we're doing with money. And like, I feel resistant and I feel triggered emotionally, just being out shopping right now because we're trying really hard to do X, Y, and Z with money.
Right.
And so, that's come up. We're in a new chapter of working harder than we ever really have at changing our relationship with money. And so the ante has been upped in terms of the level of vulnerability, excuse me, that's required for us to uphold those new standards, those new practices, those new rituals around money. And so, yeah, it just felt like I was naked when I had to share that. Like, I just feel really emotional and triggered about money right
Yeah.
now. And I just don't know if even being in stores is a good practice for me right
Yeah.
now. Like just having to share that felt just, there was a shame. And like, I don't, when I really start to unpack it, it's like, I don't really believe that shame or like stand behind that shame. I don't want to hold that shame. And it's still kind of there. It still came up in relationship to the topic, in relation to me being invited to share
Mm-hmm.
about my feelings around the topic. So
It's internalized.
mm-hmm,
It's not, you didn't put it there. That's what I think a lot when I think about internalized
right.
stuff. Like
Mm-hmm,
in the community, we talk a lot about like internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia,
mm-hmm,
right? Like, but I think that when we talk about internalized feelings, it's like someone else placed that there. Your family, an interaction you
mm-hmm,
had with someone that you held of value in whatever
mm-hmm.
aspect that was, right? So like you as a human don't believe it. You as Jenny Lee yourself
Right, like
don't believe it.
my higher
And
self, like the self that I'm trying to step into, my best self, right,
right,
doesn't hold that or want to believe it, but I have
it's
to,
still there.
yeah, in order to heal, you have to acknowledge that it's still there.
Right.
And you have to like, once you say it out loud, that's really healing for me as well. To like get it out of my body, I
Right.
automatically feel a little bit better
Yeah.
after saying it to you, even though like actually the act of saying it is excruciating,
Yeah,
right?
you really
Excruciating.
like to hold on to it. You really like
Mm-hmm.
in the past, less now. I
Yeah.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past I feel like you really just
Mm-hmm.
do not want to let anyone in. You've got the Scorpio season sign on that door of those feelings. So,
Right.
but I have
Yeah.
seen a shift,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that sharing vulnerably is something that in some aspects I'm really good at. In some ways I'm very tapped
Mm-hmm.
into my emotions, and I'm very like, well, this is how I'm feeling. And sometimes we combat each other because it's like you haven't opened up the door yet. And so I'll be like, well, I'm feeling this way, and I'm sure you're feeling that too. And you're like, it's like, I'm not feeling that way. And it's like, eventually we tend to get on the same page.
Yeah.
So when it comes for me sharing vulnerably, the harder part is when it comes to sex and when it comes to responsibility in the more traditional masculine sense of both sex and money. So I love that you picked that because we didn't talk about what we were going to really share
Mm-hmm.
on the episode.
Yeah.
We have our little meetings and we talk about some general ideas, but we
Right.
try not to go too deep into it so that y'all can really hear a conversation that we're having.
Right. Exactly.
And so for me, with the money side of vulnerability, it's like it's very vulnerable for me to tell you that like I need help. I can't do this all by myself. And I've been trying to, and it has been failing our family financially
Right.
and not helping our family. And that was really hard because as we were just talking about internalized stuff, it's like
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm constantly battling this inner voice of having to prove my masculinity because I'm transgender. So I'm always
Yeah.
like, well, I got to prove it. And in the bedroom is where I feel like it's really hard for me because I don't want, it's where I'm still holding really tightly that like masculine identity. You have to be a certain way, right? And so it's very hard for me. I get the most combative. I don't like to share as much. But then what happens is I don't share, I don't share, I don't share. And then when I do share, because I haven't shared, it's like an eruption of sharing and emotions. And it's a lot. And I find myself like unable to stop talking,
Right.
which is also a lot. And it
Yeah.
usually happens right after we just had sex because I think what happens is I've had sex, I've we've been in this eruption of pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm feeling my guard down. I'm feeling a connection with you, and then it all comes out.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
not really. It's been helpful for us, but it's also really not helpful a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, it's late, we got to go to bed. My feelings are all over the place. I'm jumping from one topic to the other. I haven't even really dealt with the feelings yet. I've
Mm-hmm.
just started speaking them out loud. So that's where some of my, I have trouble being vulnerable and sharing, but then sometimes I'm oversharing because I'm not processing before I share with you.
Yeah.
And that means that I'm sharing things that might not even really be relevant because I haven't been able to piece them together yet. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm handing you pieces instead of showing you this puzzle that I'm done
Yeah.
with, and I'm like, here's my vulnerability journey, and I want to share it with you. I'm just giving you these random pieces of a puzzle,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't know what to do with all of these pieces. This is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I think that even as somebody who honestly feels like sharing vulnerable is easy in a lot of other ways,
Yeah.
I'm constantly sharing my emotions and feelings with you when it comes to sex and even less money, but some parts of money.
Yeah.
It can be really hard. It can be really
Yes.
hard. And it's always led to better stuff. It's always, every
Mhm.
time, sharing vulnerably has led to a better outcome.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add that I was saying how like being a woman, you're kind of conditioned to feel uncomfortable asking for what you need money wise or sexually. And I wanted to make sure we hold the fact that like you were raised a woman as well. So you also have that conditioning.
Yeah, well, it's like a mix of both, maybe.
Right. Right.
Right? Like, yeah. It's a mix of both. Like,
Totally.
I tend to think, like, I shouldn't, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
So I don't want to ask for anything, but
Mhm.
when I want something, I feel deserving of it.
Mhm.
It's just like this weird
Yeah.
conundrum.
Mhm.
But I do think that now I'm approaching having lived more as a man than I have as a woman in the
Right.
world. And I think that is shifting.
Yes.
And I think
so.
it becomes hyper, at least for someone like myself. The masculinity hyper, it like goes to 1,000. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
The other side of the coin is vulnerable listening. Vulnerable listening is when you can listen without ego, without being on the defensive. It's about being present with what your partner is saying instead of just thinking about what it means for you. This is something that I recently had revelations about, which is why I kind of brought it up to discuss on the podcast.
well, I can
Mhm.
well, you say what you're going to say.
I was just going
Are you
to
going to share a story or?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
wait to do that too.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing that I wanted to point out about
Mhm.
vulnerable listening is that I feel like this is the one that everyone misses.
Yes. I keep hitting my nose on the mic.
Well, I mean, you
Okay.
don't have to be
Okay.
making out with it, but sometimes you shy away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like vulnerable listening is also harder to
Mhm.
do.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just speaking for myself.
Yes.
But
I think yeah. Mhm.
I do think that is harder to do. I
Mhm.
really do. Like, I
Mhm.
think it's one thing
Mhm.
to hear, it's another thing to listen, and it's
Mhm.
another thing to be like, I don't even know if many people have heard about vulnerable listening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of just came flooding in recently to my consciousness and my awareness. And it just feels like a superpower, honestly, in relationships, specifically intimate relationships. Can I give my example? So, when you were recently vulnerably sharing sexually, I noticed I was just in a new sense of awareness around my own experience as you were sharing. And I realized, okay, now is not the time to be thinking about what this might mean about me, for me. Like, this is the time to just hold space, and if I have to take a lot of deep breaths in order to like redirect my thoughts, or if I have to, just not say much but like be mindful of what I am saying, like that is so much more productive and going to be so much more productive than me getting defensive or taking it personally or changing my tone towards you, because then you're going to clam up and not want to share anymore, right? Like just all of those things are really heightened recently for me. And so I know that like the last time, like I wasn't perfect in our conversation, but I did notice myself just saying less because I was like actively trying not to make it about me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, when it comes to active listening, it's exactly what you said. Like, I'm selfishly listening, and I'm trying. Like, my perspective is when you're vulnerably sharing, and I'm not vulnerably listening, and internally acknowledging, okay, Aiden, like some of the thoughts you're having are pretty selfish thoughts right now. You keep everything she says, you bring back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're making everything that she's saying about you, about me, not about her.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice that sometimes early and sometimes late, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll find myself, you're sharing something with me, and I internalize whatever problem you're sharing or frustration you have as a me problem and something that's wrong with me. Like you want, I don't know, you want, our new money situation, you want to go buy stuff, and I'm like, well, this is a me problem because I'm not making enough money. And it's like, actually, you're sharing with me about how you're, just, feel like you need these things when you don't, or you're valuing them in the moment, but when you come home, like what you really want to spend money on is something very different, right? And so like, you're trying to share with me your own figuring out your puzzle and I'm just like, I don't need to see your puzzle pieces because I should be solving this for you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And that happens in other things too. Like maybe, whatever is going on, I'm constantly trying to solve your issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even listening. I'm listening for cues of how I can solve your problem. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not listening, not vulnerably listening by being like, I'm going to be open in this moment and I'm going to listen to what she's saying and I'm going to put my ego aside. I'm going to put my problem solving side aside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, just trying to acknowledge. I think that's where the word vulnerable, right? Because there's active, like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people say active listening,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a part of vulnerable listening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what makes it vulnerable is actually like vulnerable sharing tends to be much more of an outward thing. Like you are vulnerably sharing something with someone else. Vulnerable listening is much more of an internal thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you are being vulnerable by stepping outside of what you normally do when you listen.
Yes.
So I'm being by not offering you all these
Mm-hmm.
solutions and
Mm-hmm.
what by not trying to make it about me, because sometimes
Right.
you'll be like, well, this, and I'm like, well, you just think I'm not good enough, right? And it's like, wow, like that's probably not anything of what she says.
Right. Right. Yeah. So the internal process of like redirecting any story that starts to surface that is an I story,
Yes.
right? And just bringing it back to, nope, I'm listening. Nope,
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening.
Yep.
Nope, I'm listening.
And that's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It is hard to do. I mean, I, want to make it about, I guess I didn't do a good enough job in bed today.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of, oh, he's having these feelings about his trans body and the aging process of the trans body, and like I'm not even 100% hearing him because I'm in my head thinking that it's a me problem when it has nothing to do with me. And it just because he's saying these things does not make what we just experienced a negative experience.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It doesn't, one story doesn't cancel another story.
Right.
And I think
And
that's what the ego tries to do, or that's what that internal voice tries to do in the moment,
mm-hmm.
is create a story that completely negates the story that they're the fullness of the story that they're trying to tell.
Right. And when you're vulnerably sharing, you're usually not telling one story.
Mm-hmm.
You're usually telling a collection.
Right.
Whether that collection could be of days, it could be of months, it could be of years.
Right.
It could be, hey, I've been putting this puzzle together for the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now feeling vulnerable enough to share it with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and it's huge, and you're like missing it because you're in your head.
Yep.
Right. So
and I want to end on this one thing that you were saying, which was you were saying, I forget exactly what you said, but something like you just stop talking. Like you say less. I think that's maybe what you said. You say less. That's what I do. And when I first started saying less, Jane Lee was very concerned. She thought I wasn't listening. She thought that she was like, he doesn't even care. And it's like, no, I don't know how to really vulnerably listen. And so what I'm trying to do is just shut up.
Yeah.
And that has been, it was really weird at first, I think.
Yeah.
And it's still hard for me to shut up. Like, let's be real, people. But I think so it maybe, I think that is a really good first step. Every step is different for different people, but I think that when you say less and I say less during vulnerable listening, we do better. We hear more.
Yeah. And if you're in a long-term relationship like us and your partner has done things a certain way in the past and is trying to shift, there is a really awkward transition of that. And it's important to be mindful of that because, like I used to get nervous and confused that he was being quiet because I'm like, he's never, like, he's not weird. Usually quiet. So why is he quiet? And then the opposite happens. I'm creating a story in my head about his silence. And so we just have to call each other out and just name
and maybe just say it.
On.
Just be like, I want to vulnerably share with you right now. And maybe just naming like, okay, if someone's being quiet, you're like, I'm trying to vulnerably listen.
Yeah.
And put myself aside and listen to you. So
right, yeah, because there might be a lot of need for silence when you start to intentionally, vulnerably listen. In the beginning.
Yeah. So we hope that you'll take something from this.
Yeah.
You may be better at one than the other. Maybe you can lean into being better at the other. And also, we want to thank you for tuning into today's episode.
Yes.
We have finished our month.
Yes. Be sure to follow us on TikTok because that's brand new.
Jane Lee has taken over the socials. Yes. I am so happy about it. Y'all have no idea.
Not creating the videos, though. That's you.
Yeah. Well, I'll make the content. You post it. You manage it. I just can't.
Yeah. So come follow us on TikTok, on Instagram at Glued Together Podcast, and share our videos on your story.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love it. You can also DM us on there too if you have any comments, questions.
Yep.
We always appreciate y'all for listening. And until next time, take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.